Welcome to the Raven Quick Start Guide for macOS. In this video, we will walk you through configuring the hardware and the software for your Ravens. Let's begin. In the box, you'll find the Raven touchscreen, revitalizer spray with microfiber cloth, a power supply, a HDMI cable, a USB cable, a quick start guide, and a software voucher to download the software. To connect the Raven to the computer, first plug in the USB cable, HDMI cable, and power supply into the Raven. Next, take the HDMI cable and plug it directly into the HDMI port of the graphics card. Then, take the USB cable and plug it directly into a USB port of the computer. If using dual Raven and the computer does not have another HDMI port, users will need to purchase a HDMI to mini Displayport adapter. This adapter can be used to convert the HDMI to mini Displayport, which can be plugged into the Thunderbolt port or the mini Displayport of the computer. Connect the HDMI cable into the mini Displayport adapter and plug it directly into the computer's graphics card. Then, take the USB cable from the second Raven and plug it directly into the USB port of the computer. If the computer doesn't have enough USB ports, users will need to purchase a USB hub. Do not use an unpowered USB hub, as the touch panel of the Raven is powered completely by the USB bus of the computer. We recommend purchasing a powered USB hub. This will be sure the touch panels have enough power to operate smoothly. To connect the Raven to a computer with Thunderbolt 3, users will need a Thunderbolt 3 USB-C hub to connect the Ilock and the keyboards. Take the HDMI and plug it into the HDMI port of the computer, and the USB should go directly into the USB port of the computer. If users have a Thunderbolt 2 interface, they will need to use a Thunderbolt 2 to 3 adapter to connect the interface. If using dual Ravens, users will need to buy an Apple multi-port adapter. Plug the HDMI and USB from the second Raven into the multi-port adapter, and then plug the adapter into a free Thunderbolt 3 port of the computer. To power on the Raven, push the top button on the back right of the Raven panel. If the Raven has power, users will notice a green light on the front. If this light turns orange, that means there is a problem with the connection in the graphics card of the computer. To adjust the contrast and brightness of the Raven, use the menu button on the bottom of the panel and the up or down arrows to navigate. After the HDMI and the USB cable have been plugged directly into the computer, we're ready to register the software using the passcode card that came in the box. To do this, navigate to my.slateaudio.com and set up an account. Please note, if you already own some Slate Audio products, use those credentials to log in. To set up an account, type in your email address, and password. Now type in your name, country, and zip code. Then hit complete registration. Now in our email, we'll need to confirm our email address. Here's the email here, and we will click here to verify our account. Now let's log in. After being logged in, users will see you can add your product registration code here, but before we do this, we are going to link our Ilock account. To do this, click here, type in your Ilock user ID, and hit verify. If users don't have an Ilock account or Ilock ID, go to ilock.com and you can set one up here. Please note, if using an Ilock ID that is registered to a different email address, users will need to confirm that email address so the licenses are deposited in the correct account. Hit OK, and now go into the email address of the Ilock ID. You'll see the email here, and you'll see the code R02. Copy the code, go back to my.slateaudio, paste the code, and verify. Now that the Ilock account has been verified, we can redeem our passcode card and Ilock license. So go back into your main page and hit Add Products. Type in your passcode here, hit Submit. Next, users will need to choose the DAW to be registered and activated. Every Raven comes with one DAW license. Now that the products have been added to our account, hit OK and enter the Raven product page. Download the installer. While that's downloading, users will want to activate the Ilock license to the machine or dongle. Open up the Ilock License Manager software, and in the Available tab, you'll see the Raven license. You can right-click it and choose Activate. Now users can choose whether to activate the license to the machine ID or the Ilock. I will go ahead and use the Ilock. Now that we've completed activation, it's time to install the software. Navigate to your Downloads tab and install the Raven software. Please note, on Catalina, users will want to right-click and choose Open. When prompted, hit Open again. Next, hit Continue to run the Raven installer and type in your password. Now, the Raven is going to install the Raven software, Vcontrol Pro, and UPDD touch driver. After the Raven software has been installed, users can hit Close, keep the installer, and now go install the UPDD installer. Continue and install and type in your passcode. Users will now notice UPDD has asked for some system preferences. This will allow the driver access to the system. To do this, navigate to the Security and Privacy tab and click the lock. Type in your password, and here, users will want to be sure to hit Allow to allow UPDD access to the system. After allowing UPDD access, we will need to allow UPDD accessibility. So hit the Open Accessibility here, and in here we'll want to check on UPDD and UPDD Commander. While in this Accessibility tab, let's add a few other applications. So hit the plus button, add in the DAW, add in the Raven software, add in Automator, also Vcontrol Pro, and finally Terminal, which is in Utilities, Terminal. Now we can remove these error messages and start using the Commander. Now that the touch driver has finished installation, we are ready to configure the touchscreen. To do this, click the hand icon in the menu bar and hit Identify. Now push and hold on the screen until it turns blue. Users can also check more touch settings if you go into the console, and here we have all of the options, and we can calibrate the screen. Run Calibrate, push and hold all the blue crosses, confirm that touch is working, and exit. Now that we've calibrated the screen, we can confirm touch works in the test app here. And we can confirm it works on the desktop. One finger drag, one finger push and hold is a right click, double tap, and in here, two finger drag will scroll up and down, rotate left to minimize, two finger double tap should open up all your applications. So now let's go over gestures. One finger drag will select, one finger swipe from the left edge will make new tracks, one finger swipe from the right edge will make new instrument tracks, and a one finger push and hold is right click. Two fingers will scroll up, down, left or right, select a region, and two finger rotate left will move the cursor to the start of that region. Two finger rotate left will move the cursor to the selection. Two finger rotate right will turn on your auto locator, so the locator follows all of the selections. A two finger tap will play. Two finger tap will stop and play. 2-finger double tap to play from the selection. Now for 3 fingers, users can drag up, down, left, or right with 3 fingers to zoom in, out, and make the tracks larger and smaller. 3-finger rotate left will delete. 3-finger double tap is undo. 3-finger rotate right will duplicate. And a 3-finger tap will start recording. Now with 4 fingers, users can make a selection. 4-finger drag right will zoom in the selection, and a 4 drag left will zoom out to fit the whole session. Now, a 4-finger rotate left will split the region. A 4-finger tap will mute the region. A 4-finger double tap will fade. 4-finger press will delete the fade. And a 4-finger rotate right will trim in the edges. So now with 5 fingers, so users can zoom in, and with a 5-finger rotate left, it'll clip gain down. 5-finger right will clip gain up. 5-finger pinch will open and close plugins. A 5-finger double tap will add a folder track to the selected tracks, and you could open and close the folder track with a 5-finger expand. Finally, push and hold for 5 fingers to select your export mixdown option. So currently, Studio One Mixer is only going to work with single touch, but we will go enable TUIO to get it for multi-touch. To do this, open up, click the UPDD commander icon here, and go to Settings. Now, down in Studio One, if users right-click, Add Preset, you'll see your Raven presets. For now, we'll want to select the TUIO only preset. After selecting this preset, users will notice it's set to only send TUIO to Studio One on port 3334. So now we'll go into Studio One, and you'll notice touch isn't working. This is because we need to set up TUIO. So in the Preferences, General Touch Input, we will turn this to port 3334, and we will enable multi-touch and hit Apply. Now when we touch Studio One, we have multi-touch control over the faders, the solos, pinch zoom, and multi-touch plugins as well in Studio One. So you can see we can use multi-touch at the same time on these plugins. However, now the Raven gestures will not function because these would trigger Studio One gestures. Now that we're using just Studio One gestures, I'll show you a couple. 1 finger is going to scroll. Pinch zoom is pinch. And a 1-finger scroll to scroll around the session. Instead of a 2-finger scroll like we would use previously with the other gestures, it's 1 finger now. Very similar to how it works on Windows. Now to edit, you got to push and hold, and then you can drag. Where if you just drag, it'll scroll, but if you push and hold for 2 seconds, now you can do your edits. The Raven dashboard now dynamically checks for hardware compatibility. So if users see any error message here, there may be a problem with the connection. For example, if the Raven USB cable is not plugged in, there will be an error message, touch hardware not detected. Click the question mark to expand and read more about how to fix the issue. Currently, the Raven USB cable is not plugged in, and there is no Ilock plugged in. As soon as we plug in the USB cable and the Ilock, these error messages will go away. To set up the Raven with Studio One, open the Raven application, and then in the dashboard, hit Open next to the DAW icon to automatically open the DAW and the Raven toolbars. Next, go to Studio One Preferences, and under Touch Input in the General tab, set it to port 3334, and then enable TUIO and hit Apply. Studio One now gets multi-touch. You'll notice the Raven works with touch, but the transport doesn't work. So we need to enable Vcontrol as a controller for Studio One. Go to Preferences, External Devices, Add Mackie Control, and set this to Receive and Send to Vcontrol Pro. Add another one, but this time choose Controller Extended. Set this to Vcontrol XT2. Add one more, Mackie Control Extended. Set this to Vcontrol 3. Next, in the placement, drag these controllers into a group. Now you'll notice the Raven play button is down, and when we hit play on the Raven, it plays Studio One. If we open the floating mixer, there's all of our Studio One faders. Next, we'll need to import the Studio One key commands for the Raven. So from your Slate account, download the key command file. Then in keyboard shortcuts, import, downloads, the Raven key scheme. Now all the key commands are mapped on the batch commands. The Raven for Studio One comes with 3 multi-touch mixers: the Raven external mixer, floating mixer, and sends mixer. To get to the external mixer, hit the blue Raven mixer button on the right of Raven. This will open the Raven external mixer. The Raven external mixer is a full-screen 24-channel mixer with access to control the track volume, the track status, and the panning. When mixing, each touch is assigned to that particular finger. So once your finger is on, you're able to move it across the screen, and it will still track your finger. One of the best features when mixing on the Raven is the ability to change the resolution of the faders with the Find Fader button here. Push and hold to open up the Find Fader response. All the way to the left is the slowest, and to the right is the fastest. So if we set it all the way to the left, I can do very fine movements when automating a vocal or a delay throw. You can also activate the Find Fader feature to specific tracks. To do this, push and hold the dB display on the mixer, and the single track will appear in yellow. To deactivate all of these Find Fader modes, tap the Find Fader mode button twice, and they will deactivate. Another Raven mixer is the Raven floating mixer. You can open this with the floating mixer button here. The floating mixer is your direct access to multi-touch faders and pans while viewing the session window. The Raven floating mixer is a smaller, resizable version of the external mixer and offers the same capabilities as the Raven external mixer, including the ability to select automation modes, swipe solos, and mutes. To adjust the size of the floating mixer, touch the addition and subtraction buttons on the top left to show 8, 16, or 24 faders. To gain access to the multi-touch rotary pan knobs, hit the pan button, and now we can use multi-touch on our pans. The other Raven mixer is the Raven Sends mixer. The Raven external mixer has multi-touch access to the Studio One Sends. Touch the Send button to flip the Raven mixer to the Raven Sends. Here, we can use multi-touch to control all the effects and bus sends in the session. On first press of the Sends button, the Raven will show every send on the selected track as seen by the Send E LED here. To access sends across every track in this session, press the Cycle button here, and now Raven will show Send 1 across all tracks. You can see the name of the send you're controlling here. Drum verb or Vox verb. Press Cycle again, and now the Raven will show Send 2 across all of the tracks. Keep pressing the Send button to toggle through all of the sends, and notice the naming if you're on the bus or a send here. To get back to the Raven external mixer, press the channel button here. I can bank tracks by swiping on the lower third of the fader plate, using one finger to bank one track, or two fingers to bank by sets of 24. If there are less than 24 tracks in the direction you are swiping, the Raven will not bank. In this example, use one finger to continuously bank in the desired direction, and Raven will continue until you stop where it has reached the last track in the session. In addition to gesture banking, we have included banking buttons located on the Raven toolbar that can be toggled between 1 or 24. Push and hold either of the banking buttons for 2 seconds to switch between the two variations. Since Studio One is enabled with multi-touch, we can use the Studio One mixer to adjust multiple fader levels at the same time. Click the Mix button to show the Studio One internal mixer. And we can do multi-touch faders and sends all in this mixer. This mixer is resizable as well. Just click and drag the top of the fader to enlarge the faders for finer resolution. It is also possible to use the detached mixer in full screen to have a larger set of faders. Click the detach arrow here, and now you have access to a full screen multi-touch mixer. Note, if users would like to stretch this mixer across two displays, we need to go to System Preferences and be sure to disable Mission Control Displays Have Separate Spaces. This will keep the menu bar only on the main display, and this will allow you to drag windows across two displays. Note, users will have to log out for this setting to take place. The icon palette is designed to encourage visibility and organization. To add an icon, open the Raven external mixer and push and hold the black square beneath the track name. Now, click an image so it's highlighted with yellow and touch the desired track, or swipe across multiple tracks to add the image to more than one track. To upload an icon to the palette, click the Browse button on the bottom right, locate the image you wish to upload from the file browser, and load it. The image is now located in your Custom tab on the icon palette. To place it, follow the same procedure as explained previously. The icon placement is based off of the track names it was assigned to, and this information saves to the Raven session. So when adding a kick drum icon to a track named Kick, anytime there is a track with this same name, the Raven will automatically assign the custom icon to it. With the Raven external mixer, open the Studio One channel editor by hitting the Insert button next to the Record button on the Raven mixer. And then select the plugin by selecting it from the top of the channel editor. Now, just reach out and tweak the actual plugin controls. To close the plugin, we've included a gold touch button on the Raven toolbar labeled Toggle Last Plugin. Always use this when closing a plugin, as the close button on the Studio One plugins can be too small for touch. Once the plugin is closed, you can use the Toggle Last Plugin button again to quickly recall the plugin that was open previously. There is also a Hide Floating Windows button on the Raven toolbar that will toggle on and off the last used floating windows, including instruments and other floating windows. This button functions similar to the Toggle Last Plugin button, however it is for all floating windows. To initiate a plugin from the external mixer, hit the Insert button and touch the plus button in the channel editor. Now, touch the plugin to load it into the channel editor. Loading plugins from the Studio One internal mixer is done by touching the plus sign on the mixer or inspector window, then clicking the plugin name. Use a one-finger swipe to scroll through the menu and search for more plugins. When tweaking plugins, note that most will function by linear adjustment. However, Slate and other developers offer plugins rotary capability, such as the Slate Digital Virtual Mix Rack. A great feature for Studio One users is the ability to use multi-touch on all PreSonus plugins. Here, we can adjust the cutoff and the mix simultaneously. I can select tracks in the Studio One mixer by touching a channel and then hitting the Shift modifier on the bottom of the Raven and clicking another channel. I could also hold Shift on my keyboard and click more channels to select those. These tracks are now grouped. And to deselect, I'll just tap another track. I can solo or mute tracks by swiping the solos or swiping the mutes. In the external mixer, I can even solo and skip a few tracks. On the external mixer, I can change my automation for the selected track by hitting the automation button here and then selecting the automation type. On the internal mixer, I can highlight some tracks and I can adjust the automation by clicking the automation button on the bottom of the fader lane. All of the tools on the top of Studio One are easily accessible on the Raven toolbar. When there are multiple variations of a tool for one button, simply tap multiple times to scroll between types of tools. For instance, on the Paint tool, you'll see when I touch it, it scrolls through all the different variations of the Paint tool on Studio One. Editing with touch on the Raven with Studio One is very fun and easy. I can use my finger to easily grab events, then break, mute, and fade them with touch. To edit on the Raven, navigate to your desired track, pinch zoom to expand, and now push and hold on the top of the region and drag to make a selection. Double-click the top of the region to break it. Next, you can fade in by touching and holding the fade icon here and the fade curve here. You can also clip gain by clicking this box in the middle. Then grab the top of the region to make a selection. Then break it by touching the bottom of the region and drag it to the right. Or push and hold the top of the event for 2 seconds, drag your finger to select the event, double-click the top of the event to break the region. Now push and hold your finger over the fade tag to draw in and fade with touch. Clip gaining can also be done by pushing and holding the center tab for 2 seconds and dragging down. Touch and hold the bottom right of the region for 2 seconds and drag your finger left to stretch and trim the events. Be sure to utilize the pinch zooming gestures to zoom in horizontally to gain better access to the fades and gain tabs. Users may also prefer to use the pop-out editor to get even better access to smaller editing features. The Raven can also be used to draw an automation. Select a track, and then set the display to use the volume. Next, select your Paint tool, and now push and hold on the line, and we can draw. The Raven software comes equipped with 8 memory location buttons to easily navigate around the timeline of the session. Open the floating toolbar And now we can toggle open or close the memory track lane by hitting the Mem button. Now navigate to a part in your session and hit Add to create a marker in that location. Scroll a little more, hit Add again to add another marker. Now use the numbers 1 through 8 to move your locator to that marker in the session. This is very useful when mixing in the Raven external mixer and jumping to different parts of your session. On the Raven toolbar, we have added the static Nav Pad as well as the floating Nav Pad. Both function the same to zoom in and out of sessions. When you have track zoom enabled, start with your finger in the gray rectangle, drag up to zoom in, out, up or down. Same function on the floating Nav Pad. To adjust the size of the waveforms, select Waveform, and now we can increase or decrease the size of the waveforms. Shuttle mode will allow you to shuttle through, and Scrub will allow you to scrub through the session. When using the Nav Pad, you are not confined to the rectangular area around it. Activate the Nav Pad by touching inside the rectangle and freely move your finger outside of the designated area without lifting your finger from the screen. We've included the flip toolbar button, and then if you click the up or down arrow, it'll allow you to toggle between all the different toolbars of the Raven. When saving your Studio One session, we have included a touch button on the Raven toolbar that will save your Studio One session information. We have also included a Save Raven Session button. This button saves a .ravlay file anywhere on your computer you choose. The Raven session contains information about what your layouts look like, which floating windows are displayed, where your floating tools are located, bash command location, and bash command contents. Also, which session icons were used. When making changes to a layout, it is important to save your layout changes separate from the full Raven session. The Raven software is completely customizable. Simply hit the Customize Toolbar button, and you will now be able to freely relocate your controls to a custom design, and even save each design to a custom layout. When making changes to a layout, it is important to save your layout changes separate from the Raven session. After changes have been made to the toolbar on a layout, hit Save Layout. Then overwrite the current one by touching the highlighted layout. You'll see the Save Layout light turn off as a confirmation of it being saved. Once your layout is saved, you can save your Raven session. Then, in Settings, hit Set User Default to set that saved layout as your default layout, which will open every time you open the Raven session. To load a Raven session, hit the Load Raven Session button, and now you can select any session that you've saved. These multicolored and or gray buttons are batch commands. The batch command system is a series of single buttons that can execute up to 1,000 key commands, menu selections, and mouse clicks. The Raven software comes equipped with over 100 preset bash commands. However, it is also very easy for you to create your own and even share them with other Raven users. To program a bash command, push and hold one of the batch command buttons. If empty, the menu will appear blank. However, if you are overriding a bash command with previous programming, hit the Clear All button, and the button will be ready for programming. To enter a key command, click the Key Command button, and then enter your desired key command. To the right of the key command on the command line, you can add delay to the key command prior to launch, and even add the number of repetitions the key command will perform before moving to the next line in the command sequence. I can now add 1,000 milliseconds to this key command and repeat it 5 times. So it'll do Shift Command D 5 times with a 1 second delay in between each time. hit the confirm to close the batch command. Now, as an example, let's make a batch command that will create 4 new mono audio tracks named vocals. This will utilize the Add Tracks window of Studio One, which allows users to type and even tab and cursor through all the options in this menu. Push and hold a batch command for a few seconds to open up the programming, and hit clear all to clear any actions that are in there. First, click the key command button and do key command shift command N. Now, hit the delay tab, and let's give this 1000 milliseconds of delay to allow the window to open. Next, hit key command again and type in vocal. This will name these tracks vocal. Next, hit tab to go to the next menu in the new tracks window. Hit key command again and use cursor up. Here we'll repeat this 3 times so that it selects audio track in the new track window. Next, hit key command again, hit tab one more time, and this will take us to the count number of how many tracks we're going to create. We want to create 4 tracks, so hit key command again, hit 4. This will now create 4 tracks. Follow this with one more key command for return, which will seal in the 4 tracks. And finally, one more key command return, which will close the window. Next, in the name tab, call this lead vocal times 4. Give it a color. To add more colors, hit more, and now you can customize the color further. Now, let's hit our new batch command. See, it opens up the add track window, makes 4 audio tracks, and names them vocal. To save a batch command, push and hold the batch command and hit the save button here. Now, hit the quick list button, and you'll notice in the user quick list, there's our batch command. To add it into the script, hit select, and there's all of our programming saved in that batch command. I'll hit close and confirm. In the batch command menu, you can also access preset batch commands as well as custom batch commands you have saved. Push and hold a batch command, hit clear all to empty any of the programming. Now hit the quick list button. And in factory, search for add VMR. Click it and hit select to add it into the batch command programming menu, and hit close to close the quick list. We'll now call this add VMR, give it a color, and hit confirm. Now when we launch this batch command, it'll add VMR to that select track. To do this manually, we will clear a new batch command, and we will enter the key command Shift Control Option Command I. Now this key command opens up the insert browser for Studio One. If I hit it here, you see it opens up this list. Now we can type in this list any plugin we want. We will add this for Verb Suite. Please note, you will need the Raven keys for this keyboard shortcut, as add insert has a special programming key command. So open up the batch command, Control Shift Option Command I. We will give this 1000 milliseconds, which will give it time to open. Then we'll hit key command, type in Verb Suite, and return. Call this add Verb Suite, give it a color, hit confirm, and now this batch command will add Verb Suite to the selected track. Once again, to save, push and hold, hit save. Now in your quick list, in the user tab, you have your add Verb Suite programming saved. So we can add this to another button or on another layout. We've shown you some great preset batch commands and how to customize your own with the key commands and the quick list items. Another really powerful feature to the batch command system is the ability to record your own custom mouse clicks. Push and hold a batch command, clear out the contents. Now hit the record button. Raven will now record any mouse clicks that you do. So we will double click the inspector tab and we will hit the record button again. We will name this click inspector. Hit save. This batch command is now in your user quick list. Click Inspector, hit Select to add it. This will now double click the inspector window and open up the name. Now to take this one step further, push and hold. For the click to occur is going to take a little time, so we'll add 1000 milliseconds. And I'll click Key Command. I'll type in lead, Key Command spacebar, Key Command vocal. That's now going to name this track lead vocal. I'll finish it with a return. I'll give it a name, a color, and hit confirm. Now if I click the batch command, see it names it lead vocal. Another great feature of the batch command programming is we can duplicate all of this code down again. So if I want to name the next 4 tracks lead vocal, I'll hit Key Command, add a cursor down. I'll highlight all of this and I'll hit duplicate. Now if I want to call the next one lead vocal 2, before the return, I'll highlight the batch command. I'll hit Key Command, add spacebar, hit Key Command again, hit number 2. This will now call it lead vocal 2. I'll hit confirm. And now when I run the batch command, it names lead vocal, scrolls down, clicks again, lead vocal 2. Not only can you save custom batch command scripts, but you could also save entire panels to easily relocate across your layouts. Push and hold a batch command panel on its label and click the Save button. This panel will now save in your user panel quick list. So we can go to another layout, push and hold the name of a panel, hit the quick list button, and in the user tab, I hit the tracks and I hit select and confirm. And now I've taken all the programming from the previous layout and put it on this panel. I will now save the changes to the layout, save my Raven session, in settings, I will make it my user default. So now every time I open Raven, it's going to have all my new changes. Finally, to power down the Raven application, push and hold the green circle here for 3 seconds, and you will be prompted to save your session and close down the Raven.